This is EbonyMan2k bringing you the next episode of Is Sansa RAE Dead or Nah? As of May 11th, everything is pointing towards nah. There is still no real evidence that she is really dead, other than a poorly written Facebook post. But there's tons of evidence that she is living by constant social media trolling activities that can only be attributed to Sansa RAE herself. As mentioned before, YouTuber Jack Gully cited a report that shows her recently in Norcross, Georgia. And there may be something to that. In an old clip that I found that I will play later, RAE states that when her son Justice turns 2, she will make big moves to appeal for an increase in child support. Well, fast forward to now. Justice recently just made 2. And I suspect RAE is doing what she said she would do, making moves to appeal for more child support. And this may require trips to Atlanta to gather resources and probably to negotiate with priests. Another notion may be a housing move. It is my understanding that her first baby daddy was in real estate and has rental property in Gwinnett County that includes Norcross. Now, even though he may have moved himself to Maryland, he still may have property in Atlanta to provide for his daughter and Sansa RAE if they are in need. He has provided for an adult Sansa RAE before. On the last update, I talked about RAE's Cash App account. Her account was actually taken over by a full-time account manager to monitor her activities. He did not indicate to me if the account was closed, but he did force her to take out the Cash App birthday solicitation out of her passing announcements. That Cash App reference is gone. On your screen now is a summary of RAE's number of subs and views by date since April the 25th. As you can see, everything popped off on April 29th when she gained 400 subs and went from single-digit thousands daily views to double-digit thousand daily views. There was a huge jump, but it was not long-lasting. The period of increase lasted only 4 days, from Wednesday, April 29th to Saturday, May 2nd. Then things went back down to normal. Over the 4 days, she gained an extra 40,000 views. If we take the industry average ad rate of $4 per 1,000 views, she made an extra $160. Now, to estimate donation amount, I am not using no damn 43,000 as the base because her sub count is bogus. Now, if her normal daily views are around 2,000, then her daily number of viewers is about 2,000. So I will use 2,000 as the base. Her estimated donor base is 5% of that 2,000, bringing her to 100 viewers who probably donated. So if we take that 100 viewers who may have gave about $20 for donation, you get $2,000 in Cash App donations. So the $2,000 in Cash App donation, plus that an extra $160 in advertisement increase, gives her about $2,200 on the fake death come up. So Ray's entire life as she knew it was thrown away for $2,200, y'all. $2,200. $2,200 is what she made on this fake death come up. I'm going to let you marinate on that for a second. Now, I hear a lot of y'all talk a good game on what you gonna do, what you might do, what you will do. Well, I'm about to see who really about it. I'm going to go ahead and walk you through how to report Sansa Ray's channel for the fake death scam. First, go to her channel called Sansa Ray Fan and click the About button. You should see a flag on her About page. Click on it and report her for spam and scams. Then under spam and scams, choose artificial traffic. And I want you to remember the artificial traffic choice for later. Then they will ask you to choose the videos that gain the artificial traffic. You should choose video 1, number 2, number 3, number 4, and number 6. Those are the most recent videos that gain most of the artificial views from Ray's fake scam. At the end, add a summary and additional notes to complete the reporting. I wrote this as follows. I, as well as other viewers, suspect that YouTuber Sansa Ray has faked her death to create artificial traffic to her channel. Now notice how I use the term artificial traffic in my writing, so it coincides with what they offered in terms of choice. You always want to be consistent with their terms. So everything is flowing from what I chose at the very beginning with that term artificial traffic, and I added artificial traffic to the summary at the end. Okay. So it goes on to say, there was a posting in her YouTube community section that announced her passing and included solicitation for gifts and funds for her son's birthday. The solicitation in the post has now been moved, but the excess in views in her short period of time on her videos is obvious. You should be able to write something similar in your additional notes when you do reporting on Sansa Ray's fake scam as well. Okay, let's go ahead and listen to 2 clips by Sansa Ray. On one, she tells a story about her funky box. And on the other, she talks about her baby daddy issues that led to where we are today. After my outro on donations, meet me in the chat room for discussions and questions and answers.
Right before he left, this was I told you that Monday he said that he wanted to leave. He didn't want the relationship. He didn't want the baby. He didn't want, all of this stuff. Now, a couple of days earlier, I think it was 2 days earlier, maybe 3. Oh, no, 2 days. Something. Oh no, it was the day before actually, because he said he texted me this. He called me and told me that he didn't want the relationship and that he wanted to date his ex and that he didn't want the baby on a Monday. So that Sunday, I was supposed to wash the sheets and the towels while he went out to get his car fixed. And so I had ate like a salad and I had put too much Caesar dressing on it. So I was so nauseous. And this was just 3 weeks ago, 2 weeks ago, something like that. I was so nauseous. So I texted him, I said, listen, I might not clean the sheets and the towels by the time you get back because I'm sick. I'm about to try to sleep that shit off because I'm so sick. I can't do it. Just try to understand. And he says, make sure you wash your ass because you already know. Like basically making fun of me. Like if you don't wash your ass, you will stink. right? Now, that's an insensitive shit to say to somebody who just told you that they sick. I said, it's not that I didn't wash my ass already on the shower. It's just I'm not, washing the towels and the, sheets. So by this time, he's made little slick comments about my smell so much that I'm starting to get annoyed by it. And like I said in the video previously, he's like verbally abusive. So he's saying little slick comments and shit that's starting to get annoying to me, especially during my pregnancy. It's like, nigga, when is the slick comments and the low blows going to stop? Like, nobody want to be in this abusive shit all the time. Like, if you can't speak positivity in my life, you don't need to be here. Like, if everything you say got to be a little snide remark and be ugly and slick and, making fun of me and shit, well, I don't want you around. Because I don't do that to him. The only time I speak negatively to him is when he says something fucked up to me. Right? That's the only time. So he says, that slick shit. And I said, listen, if you got an issue with the way that I smell, because I'm starting to hear you talk about this more often, we're in the 6 months of our relationship. He knew how I smelled from the beginning of my relationship with him till now. So for him to be, acting like it's like this big deal now is annoying the fuck out of me. And I've never, stressed him about, how he smells. I've never like made fun of him or made like this big issue. And so I said to him, if you got a problem with the way that I smell, you might want to just break up with me. We can't be together. And then he says, well, then maybe we shouldn't be together. And then he asked me about soap. But by this time, I had basically blocked him out and went to sleep. Because after that last text message where I said, listen, if you don't like the way I smell, then maybe we shouldn't be together. And I said, the men that used to molest me and sexually assault me and abuse me and shit used to use my smell as a way to fuck me up. But that's something that men do to a lot of women. That's not some new shit. But I told him I wasn't gonna put up with that shit with him. You know what I'm saying? Because I've been through that with the men who molested me and the men that sexually abused me. They would use how I smell as if, I smell so bad and try to use it as like this thing to pull me down in regards to my self-esteem and things of that nature. And I can never understand, if you don't like the way a woman smell, why do you continuously keep fucking her? You see what I'm saying? That's the shit I don't get. That's how I know niggas say shit like this to be ugly. They say shit like this because they themselves are feeling some type of way about themselves. And so I'm telling him, don't be these niggas, because I'm not going to tolerate it. And so the topic of conversation was dropped. He didn't talk about that shit again. And the next day he decided to break up with me because he wanted to be back with his ex. He didn't want the baby. He didn't want the relationship anymore. So I told him to walk and don't come back. And here's the funny thing. The pregnancy smell I had, I said I had a pregnancy like smell, like that was different. And he was thinking, well, maybe, we both were thinking this. I said to him, maybe it could be a sexually transmitted disease because he had been sleeping with women before me, right? Here's the thing. I was celibate, right? I think I had sex with Daddy-O. Y'all know about Daddy-O. I had sex with Daddy-O. And I had sex with a guy that I was dating before him. Me and him had sex maybe twice, right? And and this is in like a 3 or 4 year span. I only had sex like I can count on one of my hands. But Priest was sleeping with women before he got with me. He was going on dates with women, having casual sex with women. I found out he wasn't using protection, and he also had been sleeping with his wife he was supposedly separated from, and she was sleeping with another man who had a girlfriend. And so you have to think about that. You have to think about, okay, he slept with a whole bunch of women, casual sex, right? And you don't know who those women he having casual sex with are sleeping with. Okay? Think about that. And then he's sleeping with his wife. And his wife is sleeping with a guy she's dating. And that guy has a girlfriend. And he's sleeping with his girlfriend. Think about that. That's like an STD waiting to happen, right? And so I say this to him. And we can even use it with the people I slept with. Because I slept with one guy before Priest, and who was he sleeping with? You know what I mean? And then Daddy-O, I was sleeping with Daddy-O last year. Who was he sleeping with? So you have to think about shit like this. And so whether you use protection or not, because it's diseases out there that you get that protection ain't going to keep you from. You know what I mean? You can put on a rubber and still get some type of nasty ass disease. So I was thinking maybe my vagina smelled this way because of an STD. So I said it to him. I said maybe the reason why it smells like it's a different smell is because of the STD. And I said it to him. I said, when I go to the doctors again, I'm going to have them test me for STDs, because I still have not been tested for STDs, because I won't let anybody take my blood. I won't let anybody do a pelvic exam on me, because I'm still scared. You know, this pregnancy is new to me, and I'm afraid. I don't want to lose my baby. I don't want nobody digging in me, putting anything in me, giving me medication. I don't want nobody fucking up anything. I want to be solidly, like, in my pregnancy, deep within, before, you know what I'm saying, before I start taking like medication. Because if I find out I'm on an STD, if I find out I have an STD from this nigga Priest, I'm going to have to take some type of antibiotics. So I'm scared. Like, I'm like, oh, I can't do this right now. I gotta wait. So I'm like, this smell, this pregnancy smell. And if you go Google or look at WebMD, they tell you that your vagina smells different because of your pH. And so I got me some Summer's Eve feminine wash. Right? I got me some feminine wash to see if that would help, and the smell just would not go away. And I kept like trying to figure out what the fuck is going on. Now, I'm one of those people, I love Bath and Body Works, and I love body sprays and perfumes, and I had to stop using all of this stuff when we were sleeping in the back of his Explorer, because the mosquitoes was biting the shit out of us while we were sleeping in the car. So I had to shut off using all of that stuff, because it just, I was getting bent up. So I stopped using sprays, and until we could find a solid place to stay. So now I can go back now. I can go back to wearing my body sprays and stuff like that. And I just ordered some stuff from Bath and Body Works. It's my favorite place to, get body sprays and perfumes and stuff like that. I'm really big on like perfumes and grooming and stuff like that. And, most people who've been around me, they know that stuff is important to me. And so anyway, when Priest has been gone for like, we're about to go on his third week of being gone. And so after he was gone for about a week, we're not having sex anymore. So what's interesting is after my first trimester was over, my sex drive started picking back up. It was like picking up, it was increased. It wasn't like how I was before I got pregnant and we was having sex a couple of times. When my sex drive came back, that shit went sky high. Like, I wanted to have sex every day. All I kept thinking about was sex, 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 sex. I couldn't wait till he came home so I could jump his fucking bones. You know what I'm saying? It was just there. My sex drive was just back. And so I would want to have sex with him. We was having so much fucking sex. Right? And so we never had that much sex before. We was having sex, but we wasn't having sex like that. So we just constantly keep having sex. And I'm trying to figure out what the fucking smell is. So, a week goes by. This nigga's gone, okay? He done left. He left. A week goes by. Smell is gone. Okay? That smell that I had left. It's like he took the smell with him when he walked out the door. And I kept like checking myself. Like, wiping myself and cleaning myself. And I just kept checking. Like, when I wake up in the morning, I check how my vagina smells. I'm on the phone with my mom. I'm like, yo, mom, I'm smelling my vagina. She's like, yo, that's really TMI. I'm like, yo, ain't nobody else here for me to smell it. So I want to make sure I smell, like good. And I was telling her that the smell was gone. So then when he contacted me last weekend, he was, screaming on me for about 3 hours, and he started talking about how I stink and how I smell like garbage and all of this extra stuff. I was thinking to myself, yo, he has no idea that since he left, the smell is gone. To resorts and stuff together. That's what Daddy-O and I used to do. And we would do this because we were hurting in our own personal lives. And it was something that we had to deal with as friends. It was something that we needed from each other, and we gave each other what we needed. All right? It wasn't a relationship. It was just us two trying to figure out what we wanted to do next. He was trying to help me with my life. I was trying to help him with his. And we ended up helping each other tremendously. And we fixed a big problem in both of our lives. Daddy-O is very important to me. And I will never forget him. I will never forget him. I will never take my friendship with him for granted because he did so much for me. And I love him to this day for that. So when I met Priest, I told Priest about Daddy-O. And I understand why a lot of people would think we were together. Because, I mean, he's been on my channel for a little bit. I think he did like one video. And I would talk about him a lot because he was like my closest friend. He was my dude. He was my person. But we never was in a committed relationship because we never got to that point. And it's a reason why we didn't get to that point. It is because both of us wanted something different than being together. And when you are genuinely friends with someone and you have a mature situation and you two respect each other, you can come to a mutual agreement with each other and don't have to necessarily hate each other if you decide not to be together. So all we really did was like date and hang out and talk and iron each other's shit out. That's basically all we did. And so I told Priest about this. I also told Priest about Minister Jap, who was online causing so many problems. I told him about Chris Law, who was online running his mouth, and he had been running his mouth in Atlanta. And, you know, the truth about Chris, I told him about that. So my thing is, I don't lie about who I am because I feel like if I lie, I can't help somebody. So when people go around and they try to say, well, Sansa Ray is lying about her situation simply because they are misinformed and aren't paying attention to what's being said. Or I also myself, and I've said this, I've also myself feel like that I should take accountability for maybe misspeaking inside of a video or not communicating effectively like I should have so people could have a better understanding. I take accountability for that because sometimes I feel like when people come to me for with misinformation, maybe they just don't understand. It is okay if you don't understand, but ask me so I can clarify it for you. So when people sit around and they talk about, oh, Sansa Ray has this long history of dating married men and bums, I'm like, if you only knew who I was and how much stuff I don't put up with, you would never say that. No man in the history of men outside of Chris Law, who is married, can say Sansa Ray fucked with me. Because that's not how I rock. Priest is going around saying this because he's a liar. Priest should get sued for that. People always come to me and say, Sansa Ray, are you planning on suing Priest for going around calling you a mistress? For going around calling you a side chick that he ain't care about? Well, all of us know that y'all two was in like this very loving relationship and his wife, Sidonia, was estranged. She was out somewhere living her life and them two wasn't even together. Are you going to sue him for going around saying this stuff? And I said, you know what? I could sue Priest for it. Because I got way too much proof that we was in a solid relationship. Not that I was just this mistress that goes around and sleeps with people's husbands. People do not confuse Chris Law with Priest. Chris and Priest are two very different things. Chris was something I did 10 years ago. Priest and I had a solid relationship and was building a life together. He's not some married man where I was sitting here and I was being his mistress. That's not how that went at all. So, of course, it would be easy for me to sue him, right? And win. Because inside of the court of law, there's a difference between being legally married, being separated, being estranged from each other. And the courts know me and Priest's situation because I told them. I gave them proof. I had to. When I filed for child support, I had to give them proof of everything that I was saying. I had to give them proof that he abandoned me in a hotel. I had to give him proof that him and Sidonia wasn't together and they were separated. I had to give them proof of everything that I was saying or I wouldn't have been rewarded what I was. There's a reason why I was rewarded child support. Not just the fact that I had took a paternity test. I literally had to provide screenshots of text messages. I had to send them pictures. I had to send them real, solid, accurate proof. Because when you're dealing with the court system, you got to have attorneys, paperwork, all types of stuff. And I'm telling you, sitting down doing child support, filling out child support, it took hours and hours of me just to, like, one time I literally sat down with my attorney and a child support person for 8 hours just to sit down and talk about my situation with Priest. So could I file a lawsuit against Priest? Hell yeah. For making all of these defamatory statements. But to me, the nigga broke. So it's a waste of time to sit up here and put all my money into a legal team to get zero from this nigga. Because even with child support, he can barely pay that. He told them that he was unemployed. And when justice get to, I can raise the child support. So when justice gets to wherever Priest work at, they're going to factor in how much money he makes again, and I'm probably going to end up with more child support. Now, not a lot more, because of course I make more money than him. But this situation between Priest and I, and my son, and all these people saying all this negative stuff about me, it's something that is unavoidable. If I never got onto YouTube and never told my story at all, but people knew who I was, there were still going to be people around here who would make up a rumor about me. It happens. When someone is a popular person, whether I decided to share my personal stories or not, whether a popular person decides to share their personal stories or not, someone is still going to spread rumors and gossip about them. Because it's just low energy people in this world. It's something that none of us can avoid. It's going to be people out there that's going to spread misinformation. It's going to be people out there that lie about you. It's going to be people out there that tell people you a prostitute when you wasn't. It's going to be people out there who's going to tell people that you lied about celibacy when you didn't. It's going to be people out there who aren't stand-up people that dealt with you and fucked you over, but they're not good people to begin with. So when they tell the story about you, they don't necessarily tell the truth about your interaction with each other. Just like my son's father. He's not a good person, so he's not going to tell you the truth about our interaction with each other. The only time you're going to hear the truth about two people interacting with each other is if you're dealing with a stand-up person or stand-up people. If me and Daddy-O was to sit down and do a podcast right now, our stories would run parallel. If me and my daughter's father decide to sit down and do a podcast, our stories will run parallel. Anyone who was inside of my life and knows me and is a stand-up person will tell you the truth about who I am. But no person that was in my life that was fucked up from the beginning, like the Chris Laws and the Minister Japs and the priests, they were fucked up people to begin with. So when the situation happened the way that it did, of course they're not going to publicly speak about me and tell you the truth. They're going to do what they can to make themselves look better. Because they were bad people from the beginning. They had bad intentions for me from the beginning. They were never people I was supposed to choose to be with or be around to begin with. So I don't expect for Chris Law to fix his lips to tell the truth about us. I expect him to lie because that's who he is. I don't expect for Priest to go around telling the truth about our situation because he was a liar from the beginning. He lied about his situation with his estranged wife. He lied about how he felt. He lied about wanting to be married. He lied about so many things. So why would suddenly he decide to tell the truth? He's not. And the funny thing is, he's openly said he lied to me. Right? Now, after a person say, you know what? I did lie to her. After Priest has already said on the internet, you know, I did lie to her. He done did videos and interviews and with the wrong people, I swear. and say that he's a liar, right? So it doesn't occur to anybody that he could be lying to you about something else. My thing is, I'm not going to lie to anyone because I feel like if I lie, I can't help anybody. I can't help anybody. If you notice, I seldom do an interview. I don't do interviews. Okay, I did one interview with this girl named Nicole, and I try not to do more of them. I don't need to do interviews about Priest and Sidonia, like how Priest and Sidonia have walked around and did interviews for me. I don't have to do that. I just do me. I just say what I say on my own platform. I don't need anybody else to assist me when I'm telling the truths about my life. But you have to start giving people the side eye who decide to use the platforms of people who only have something negative to say or who only have disdain for me. See, here's the thing. Here's what would make sense. Let's say, for instance, you wanted to clear your name. Maybe Sansa Ray said something negative about you, right? And you just want to clear your name as a person. What you would do is find a neutral platform, a legitimate platform, to where a person is neutral, so that you'll be able to come off with no negative, like no one could possibly think that you're doing this to be vengeful or vindictive or something like that. What you're not going to do, what you're not going to do is get on an interview and do an interview with a person who purposely is malicious towards a specific gender of person, who's biased. You understand? Like, you want to clear your name. You want to say, you know what, Sansa Ray said something negative about me that's inaccurate. It's not true. She's just making this up because blah, 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 right? That's where you stand with what you're saying. And you're genuine with it. So what you're going to do is you're going to go to a neutral party, not someone who doesn't like Sansa Ray. If you notice, Priest and Sidonia, when they would sit around and they would do all these interviews and lie about me, what they would do is go to these platforms of people who obviously had a disdain for me. They would go to these people who classified themselves as my enemy and do interviews with them, instead of finding a legitimate, like, news source or a person who would be neutral and give you a solid interview. You could be heard out and taken serious. But when you get on platforms like Bomb Cherry, who is not even I can see if she was a news reporter, but she's just some messy troll. Or Tommy Sotomayor, who clearly has disdain for Black women and single mothers. Why would you get on these platforms and talk about Sansa Ray? You know why? Because what you're saying isn't necessarily the truth anyway. So you can never go to a solid source. A solid source that deserved to interview me was the people in the courtroom, the lawyers, the attorneys. Those were solid people. So those are the people I interviewed with. The court system, my attorneys, judges. Those are solid people. So if you wanted to prove something about Sansa Ray, you have to prove it with legitimate people, not people like trolls on the internet or, a person who does negative commentary about Black people. That doesn't make any sense. So you have to look at the motives of people, and it has to make sense. Like, intellectually think about this. Does that make any sense? Not so much. Consider the motive behind why people say the things they say about people. Look at how they handle things. I've always been very honest about my stories. And the reason why is because I want to help out other women so they never experience what I have. And like I say all of the time, I cannot help somebody being dishonest. I have to tell the truth. Okay? So Daddy-O and I was never in a relationship. We just had a really, really good friendship with each other. And we was considering being in a relationship, but we didn't. Because we wanted something else for our lives. Right after him, a couple of months, I think it had to be 5 or 6 months later, I started dating Kumari. And Q-Madi and I ended up in a relationship. After being in a relationship, we decided that we was better off friends because before we got in our relationship, we had been friends for 10 years. So we decided that being in a relationship was not a good idea for us. A month or two after I dated Q, I started dating Priest. And it took Priest and I a little while to be inside of a relationship as well. It took us a second to have sex. We went out, we had dates, it wasn't like I was a one night stand and he jumped me off and I was just his mistress that he didn't care about. No. We were building a life together. All right? We talked about marriage. We talked about kids. We were building a life together. We started my clothing line, Yaora, together. A lot of my Yaora designs initially were Priest ideas. It's still shirts on my Yaora website that people can buy, and they was Priest idea. Excuse me. We started Yaora together as another source of income. So there was a lot of positives inside of Priest and our relationship. And he's not very honest about that. I was very good to Priest inside of my relationship. I did nothing to this man. I did not lie to this man. I did not cheat on this man. I didn't do anything to deserve what happened between me and my son's father. He did this because he had bad intentions from the beginning. And you have to understand that. You have to understand that. And the second you understand that, you'll start side-eyeing everything that he says. Now, my thing for everybody is when you hear me speak, and if you're confused about something, don't call me a liar. If you hear something and you think that there's a possibility that something's not right, maybe it don't sound right to you, please understand that it don't sound right to you. And that's your perspective. And maybe you're missing some information. So ask me or listen to more content. Because it could be that you didn't listen to enough content, or it could be that, you know what, I done made a video out somewhere or some type of podcast out somewhere to clear up something that I may have misspoke. So get your facts straight first. That way, it would be easier for you to stop saying, oh, Sansa Ray lied. No, you're just misinformed. Because I'm not going to lie about this story. And no matter how many times proof has been posted, people still going around calling me a liar because that's what they want to call me. It has nothing to do with the fact that that's me. That's not me. I'm not walking around here lying about my life experience. I don't have to, because it's not all super glamorous and shit. I ain't got Queen Naja's story over here to where I was married and my husband cheated on me and I turned around and made a song called Medicine and now suddenly I'm this Grammy nominated ass singer. No, that's not my story. If my story was as glamorous as Queen Naja, I can see how y'all could be like, oh, she lied. No. My story is a bad story. My story is horrible. This is a story of something that's unfortunate and didn't even have to happen. But it happened because somebody was selfishly walking around this planet thinking it was okay to mistreat women. Another woman walking around here misleading another woman, making her feel like it's okay for her to be in a relationship with somebody that she supposedly separated from. This was me trusting Priest and Sidonia when I shouldn't have. And I don't want women to trust this. I don't want women to put themselves in this type of situation. That's all. So no, I wasn't Priest's mistress. I never was. And it's hurtful that he walks around and says that. That's why he says it. Because he's hurt about the situation. And he wants to break fly and pretend like he doesn't feel anything when we all know that he does. Anyone in their right mind would know that he feels some type of way. Because you can't tell me that all of this stuff didn't spark some type of emotion out of him. You dealing with a divorce. You dealing with a breakup with a completely different woman who has a child with you. As a man, you gotta feel something, whether it's frustration, anger, sadness, grief, disappointment in yourself.
I would like to thank you for sharing your time with me today. Shout out to all the chat room members and listeners that may be listening in your car, at home watching this on television, working out, or just taking a break at work. Your time is greatly appreciated. I also welcome all visitors. I'm always in the chat room providing commentary on videos, so when you come in, subscribe, and then introduce yourself in the chat. This presentation is supported by a Cash App promotion. If you do not have Cash App, click on my referral link in the description box and comment section. Copy and paste the referral code after the Cash App download, and you and I will receive $5 after you start making transactions. If you already have Cash App, feel free to make a donation at $EbonyMan2k. That's $EbonyMan2k.